do you have zero tolerance policy on sexual harassment? And if you do you really want one? Certainly to say we have zero tolerance on harassment, other inappropriate workplace conduct, that's a strong statement. We're living in a period that a strong statement is appropriate and necessary as far as what the company wants to do with respect to sexual harassment. But here are three things to think about before you have what's truly a zero tolerance policy. Number one, if zero tolerance means that if you engage in anything that might be sexual harassment, you will be terminated, there's a lot of potentially harassing behavior that probably doesn't warrant termination. That doesn't mean it's acceptable, but I think most of us have seen situations where there is harassing behavior that can be corrected by lesser measures than that. Number two, I always tell employers to be careful of what I think of as overreaction cases. And that typically manifests in either a discrimination case by a harasser or alleged harasser who's been terminated and says that he has been treated less favorably than an alleged harasser who was not terminated, who might be in a different race, for example. It can also be a breach of contract case by an executive who has a contract that the company somehow violated his contract by overreacting allegedly to a harassment allegation. Certainly if we've got a zero tolerance policy and we uniformly enforce it, we shouldn't have discrimination kinds of actions. But it does raise an overreaction concern that may lead to those kind of claims. Last, and I think most important, one of the things, and you've heard me say this in other tapes, that I think is really important to move the ball forward, to do our best on harassment and a healthy workplace where everybody can succeed, is to diminish the amount of unreported harassment. And why people don't report, as we've said before, that's a complex topic. There are a lot of reasons for it. But I don't think that having the ultimate consequence, even for a relatively minor form of harassment, is necessarily going to encourage reporting in many situations. And I do think it's very important for a company that we do everything we can to minimize the amount of unreported harassment. So I would be very careful about having a quote-unquote zero tolerance policy. Certainly fine to say we don't tolerate sexual harassment, we don't tolerate harassment of other kinds or other inappropriate conduct, but be careful of the term zero tolerance.